Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I hope you're having a good day. We have been working on factors, divisibility, and then using those concepts in dealing with some fractions. Specifically, when dealing with fractions, we've been wanting to learn how to put fractions in simplest form or lowest terms. So what we did last week is we started looking at what does it mean when a fraction is in lowest terms, and we went to a website called mathplayground.com fraction bars, that one I'm highlighting right now. And we were able to play around and show pictures of what a fraction in simplest form looks like. It's basically the most basic form of the fraction where you can't cut the fraction into any more parts without changing what fraction it is. We also talked about what that means numerically. A fraction is in lowest terms when the greatest common factor, the GCF, of the numerator and denominator is 1. So for example, we looked at an example, 3/4. This fraction is in lowest terms because if you list all the factors for 3, the numerator part, all the factors for 3 are 1 times 3. And all the factors for the denominator 4 are 1, 2 times 2, and 1 times 4. Those are all the factors of those numbers. The greatest common factor of the numerator and denominator is 1. So the only thing you could do to reduce that fraction anymore is divide the numerator and denominator by 1, and that would not actually change the fraction at all. So we say that this fraction is in simplest form or lowest terms. And that's what we've been working on this week, relating that idea of finding the greatest common factor and then using that greatest common factor to write the fraction in lowest terms. The kids have to be able to do some basic dividing with this. So let's look at some of the questions we did this week. So I'm going to flip forward. And it says here, to write a fraction in lowest terms, divide the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor. And it says, write the following in simplest terms or lowest terms or simplest form. So the first fraction we have here is 12 over 16. Oh, I want to do this in blue. There we go. So 12 over 16. So what I had the kids do first is I had them relate this to the idea of factors and divisibility. So I wanted them to list all the factors for 12, all the numbers that multiply to 12. Well, we know 1 times 12. We know 2 times 6. And we know 3 times 4. Missed a comma. And then for 16, we know 1 times 16. We know 2 times 8. And we know 4 times 4. This is actually the toughest part for kids, right? Knowing their facts. I sent home a website on the weekend, and it's really imperative that the kids know their facts because the quicker they recall they have with this kind of stuff, the way easier it is. Look at the factors they have in common. They have, oops, I've got to undo that. Where's my undo? There we go. They have 1 in common, they have 2 in common, and they have 4 in common. So the greatest common factor here is 4. And we use that factor to get these fractions in lowest terms. Now we divide the numerator and denominator each by 4. 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times 4 is 16. So this fraction in lowest terms is 3 over 4. And that's how we get a fraction in lowest terms. Eventually we'll move away from doing all this, but I like to make it clear that we relate fractions and the work we've previously done with factors and divisibility. Okay, let's look at another one. 15 over 24. So once again, I'll draw the fraction properly. Oh, there's that red again. I want blue. There we go. 15 over 24. And we'll list all the factors for 15. Again, I'm guessing this will be the hardest part. 1 times 15. 3 times 5. And we use our divisibility rules for this. So if the kids have skills with their divisibility rules, that'll help them find the factors. The factors of 24 are 1 times 24. There's 2 times 12. There's 3 times 8. And there's 4 times 6. And then if we look at the ones that are common, there's 1 common. And there is 3 common. So we would say the greatest common factor, the GCF, is 3. And we would divide the numerator and denominator by 3 on that fraction, and that would get us our fraction in lowest terms. 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 times 8 is 24. And this fraction that I'm circling is now the lowest term or simplest term fraction for 15 over 24. So that's the concept we're looking at this week. We're combining all of our factors, divisibility, you name it, working with fractions now. Let's do a couple more. 15 over 45. I keep using my red. I always tell the kids, use pencil, not red pen. So 15 over 45. And I'm going to list the factors of 15. There is 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, and 15. And the factors of 45, it's a tricky one. Well, I know 1 times 45. I know 2 can't be a factor, but I know 3 can be a factor. So what I've told the kids is I know 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 11 is 33. 3 times 12 is 36. I'm skip counting. 3 times 13 is 39. And 3 times 14 is 42. So 3 times 15 would be 45. So 15. And then a fact, 5 times 9. So those are all the factors of 45. Let's look at what's in common. 1's in common. 3's in common. 5's in common. And 15's in common. So the greatest common factor of 15 and 45 is 15. And then you could divide the numerator and denominator by 15 to get the fraction in lowest terms. 15 divided by 15 is 1, and 45 divided by 15 is 3. So in lowest terms, that fraction is 1/3. Let's do one last question like this, and then I'll do a separate video to show something else. So the next fraction is 18 over 32. And we'll list the factors of 18 first. Well, there is 1 times 18. There is 2 times 9. And there is 3 times 6. And the kids, they learn this by just practicing their divisibility rules, and then it's a lot of practicing your facts, right? The better you can know your facts, the easier this stuff is. The factors of 32. Well, I know 1 times 32. It's an even number, so 2 times 16. 4 times 8. The greatest common factor of these two fractions, well, they have 1 in common, they have 2 in common. That's it. The greatest common factor is 2. So to get this in lowest terms, I will divide 18 by 2 and 32 by 2, which I say to the kids is like chopping in half. And that's 9 over 16. And that fraction is in lowest terms. So that's what we've been working on this week, is putting fractions in lowest terms. Now, we don't always have to go to all this trouble of listing out all the factors to do this. So I'm going to show you next how we might go and use a little more mental math to do this kind of thing. So there's going to be another video, but that's all for this first one. So trust me, right now I'm flexing. Flexing Teacher Weber, out.